Hi, my name is Adnan Hasbi, and welcome to another episode of Rambling of an Analyst on Defining Finance Guide. In today's small little episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about how or why companies like Google, Amazon, Google as in alphabet, and also Amazon, why did their stock price actually increase during this particular point in time or during this particular lockdowns? So to answer this question, as you know, I like to make things very simple, and I was binge watching this series on Netflix, which is called Stranger Things. And in this little series, there was this particular episode which I really liked, which encapsulates the lifestyle of during the 80s, whereby you could see the mall full of people, and you can see people buying stuff. You can see people at the fountain. You can see a lot of shops and a lot of people just walking around and trying to have fun. So over here, when I was a kid, at least, back in the day, when we used to go to the mall, there were two types of buyers. The first is intentional buyers, whereby we go to a mall and we intend to maybe buy some groceries, or maybe we intend to buy some electronic stuff, and we go to the mall just to buy items. It could be anything that we want. And then there's another second group of shoppers, which are called the, unintentional buyers, which go to the mall just to hang out, just to walk around, just to see friends, or just to get the aircon. So I remembered when I was much younger, and back then there was no internet, and back then the main, source of hanging out, especially when I'm going out with my granny, is going to the malls. And what we used to do is we used to just walk around, window shop and whatnot. And over here, we would sometimes unintentionally, we didn't go with the intention of buying anything in the mall, but we unintentionally maybe buy some pencils, or maybe we buy some waffles, or maybe we buy some drinks, right? So this is what we call unintentional bias. So over here, during, the whole lockdown season, right? And as we know, malls are not popular right now. Less and less people are actually going to the brick and mortars with the whole lockdown, and more people are actually going online to buy stuff. So over here, what I like to say is one of the reasons why Facebook, Google, and also the third company, Amazon, is where their stock price rocketed during this time, is that with more and more people being stuck in their houses, they actually resorted to go online. And once they go online, there's a lot of traffic. And once there's traffic online, the chances of us maybe looking for stuff, buying anything, buying food is much higher. Okay. Over here, we have the phenomenon of intentional buyers and non-intentional buyers, right? And one of the reasons why Google, Amazon, and Facebook is so valuable today, I was trying to figure out what's the best way to explain things. And after watching this particular episode, it clicked upon me why they're so valuable. And the whole thing, if we want to say it in one word, is traffic. Imagine if you are an e-commerce store, right? And if you create a website, if there is no traffic going your way, what will happen is that you may have zero sales. Having said that, however, if you are an e-commerce site and every day at least 1 million people go to your website, the chances of intentional and unintentional buyers buying your stuff is very high. Assuming intentional buyers is probably 10% out of the 1 million people that visits your shop. And the unintentional buyers is about another 10%. So over here, you will have 200,000 people buying your stuff. And assuming if profit per client is maybe $1, every day you will make $200,000. So over here, as we know, if we are an online shop, how do we get people to come and visit our store if we are new and unknown? So this is where Google has their advertising platforms, Facebook has their advertising platforms, and YouTube has their advertising platforms. You pay Google a little fee every time when someone searches something. You will notice on the top there are little bars which says ads. So over here you will get some traffic or some people that will click that particular item. The second way is before you watch a video, every time there may be a video of someone trying to sell you something, maybe a course on investing or maybe a course on real estate, so on and so forth. And finally, if you go to Facebook, if you scroll down Facebook, every 4 or 5 posts that you read from your friends, you will notice a sponsored post, sponsored post, sponsored post. So over here, the whole experience of us using all of these social media networks is akin to going to the mall. The more traffic the mall has, the more likely you will have intentional buyers and also unintentional buyers. And that is one of the reasons why these companies are so valuable today. They help provide traffic. And during this whole lockdown, if you are an e-commerce business, and if you want to, and if you know that many people are locked in their houses, you will probably pay a small little fee in order to get traffic into your website, and people will eventually buy stuff. If you ask me, it's a win-win-win. Number one is a win for buyers, as I'm searching, I have nothing to do, so I just go online. Number two is a win for Google, and as you see, the owners for Google, YouTube, Facebook, all the social media sites, if you look at all of these stocks, the stock price rose quite significantly, especially during this period. And the final win is, as an e-commerce owner, you want to sell your products. And how do you get people to buy your products is to get traffic your way. So I guess that in a nutshell is a little bit about some ideas I got watching the small little series on Netflix. I know I'm a very geeky guy. I tend to try to get investment ideas when I'm watching Netflix series, when I go to malls, when I always ask myself these questions. Where do I find stocks? And just by watching a movie, I actually got this particular idea for this episode. Okay, that's the end of this particular episode. Right now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Airasia and whether Airasia could increase to $2. There was a question asked to me by one of the subscribers. I think after every episode, I'm going to put a little, I guess, Easter egg kind of reward for people that actually kind of watch the whole video. So again, I'm geeky, so I want to make this as quirky as possible. So anyway, there was a question as to whether Airasia could increase to $2. In short, my answer is if Airasia, or if they could ride safely through this particular lockdown and pandemics, I think, and if they could survive this, there may be a relatively high chance for them to actually reach that particular price, but I don't know when. Okay, with the reason being very simple. If you look at a lot of successful companies, and if you look at their stock price, like Google, Amazon, Facebook, you will notice the more people they serve, there's an increase in the stock price. So as you guys saw in my previous episode, or my first episode on Airasia, I talked a little bit about their fleet expansion. You could see that Airasia's management is actively expanding their fleet. Number one, the supply. Number two, the question of demand, whether there's going to be any demand for these flights. And for that, I'll definitely say yes. And why do I say that? If we look at the wealth effect, or if you look at the GDP per capita within the whole ASEAN region, it has been increasing. And when the GDP per capita increases, what this basically means is that people are getting richer in the whole ASEAN region. And when people get richer, they will have an increase in disposable income. And when they have an increase in disposable income, traveling is one of the items people want to demand and they want to consume. So as this region get richer, what will happen is the demand for travel will also increase. And the third thing I noticed is if you look at Instagram and Facebook, I noticed that a lot of influencers right now have little traveling pages where they talk, they show pictures on the nicest resorts in maybe Vietnam or the nicest resorts over in India. This basically is a form of advertising where if we see other people kind of travel and have exotic holidays, we have this fear of, I guess, missing out. So that's the third thing where I don't know whether it's really ingrained into the society, but if we see people traveling and if we have that fear of missing out, chances are we want to actually also travel and go to the same places. That's number 3. And number 4 is if you look at Airasia's income statement, you will notice this thing called non-flight income. So the non-flight income would consist of other businesses Tony is looking to increase. And I think one of the business that is quite, I guess, has a lot of marketing and has a lot of prominence right now is Big Pay. And also, Big Pay. So if we look at Big Pay, as I mentioned to you, that I think that e-wallets and also virtual banks is going to be the way moving forth. And if the adoption rate is very high for all of this, Airasia will have another stream of income and it could be increasing and increasing. So over here, I talked a little bit about the core business and how there's a strong demand. Airasia is also increasing their fleet. And also, if you look at social media, it tends to show this little picture of traveling being a norm. So, and the second thing is that if you look at their Big Pay or if you look at their non-flight income, Airasia is actually actively trying to increase their non-flight income. So if there is 2 strong revenue streams coming into the company, and if they continue to serve more and more people, what will tend to happen is that the stock price would increase. I'm not going to say definitely, but there's a strong chance for the stock price to increase. Of course, all of this is forecast and I could get things wrong. So it's just my little 2 cents and I just want to kind of share it with you guys. And if you guys want to invest in the stock, again, I'm going to say it's relatively volatile. But having said that, if we believe that they're resilient enough to ride this particular volatility, I think shareholders would actually stand to gain some benefit from this thing. So I guess with that, guys, I talked a little bit about traffic and about Google, Facebook, YouTube, how they increase in value, and especially during this lockdown time, while all the other stocks tend to, I guess, especially in Malaysia, they didn't do quite well. But if you look at all the other tech stocks, they did really well. So I talked a little bit about that, and I also gave you guys a little Easter egg. And moving forward, I think the whole format of the streams of consciousness is pretty much, I'm just going to talk, and I probably want to give an Easter egg towards the end, just to make the whole thing fun. So with that, guys, thank you so very much for being on the live session. And I want to thank future audiences to be on this particular live session. And should you have any questions, please do ask. And one of the reasons why I actually got the idea for this Airasia going to 2 ringgit was one of the questions was asked by me. So I want to thank that particular sub which asked me that particular question. With that, guys, enjoy Sunday and enjoy dinner if you guys have not had dinner yet. With that, take care, guys.